Hello, everybody. This is Sharon Versyp again, and I'm excited for the second episode of March Madness. Just wanted to mention again, I'm back in coaching. I'm at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, down in the Low Country, a brand new Division II program that just added men and women's basketball. So real excited about that opportunity to continue to give back. And Episode 4, we'll be talking a lot about USCB and the great things here that's going on. But boy, what madness happened this past weekend. First time in 25 years that multiple number one seeds went down. IU and Stanford, and it was on their home court. So the parity in women's basketball has just continued to grow. And what a Sweet 16 that we're going to be looking forward to. I'm really excited about the two guests that I have today, former Purdue Boilermakers, their family and their friends. So these episodes are going to be great. They're in the coaching realm and different conferences. So we'll be looking forward to those two. But let's go to the graphic and see what are the 4 top seeds that are left. Right now, we have the Greenville region with South Carolina, which is the team to beat. Absolutely no question. Then you have the Region 2 in the Greenville is the Utah. And that's the pick that I said, let's see what happens. They're going to be matched up with LSU, but that's still going to be a tough region. And then we go out, Seattle, number 1, Virginia Tech. Played absolutely amazing. Kenny Brooks has continued to do a great job. And then we go to Region 4, Big Ten, Iowa, Lisa Bluter, Caitlin Clark. So those 4 teams are the remaining highest seeds. So we're going to be in for a treat this weekend. Well, our first guest in the show is Tricia Cullop from the University of Toledo, obviously a former Boilermaker. Tricia has been nothing but amazing at Toledo, winningest coach in history. She won the regular season championship in the MAC, won the tourney championship in the MAC, Indiana Basketball Hall of Famer as a player, and her team this year just was excellent. They were a number 12 seed in the tournament. They upset number 5, and I don't call it an upset because the matchup was great for her. 29-5, beat Iowa State 80-73, lost to Tennessee 94-47. Tied the record for most wins, 29, had a 17-game winning streak, and advanced to the second round for the first time since 1996. So welcome, Trish. How are you today? How's everything going?
It's going good. I appreciate you having me.
You have been nothing except exceptional. 25th in attendance. Your team has done such an amazing run. I've been in this business a long time, and I always say, you got to take a breath. What you have done has been incredible. You got to enjoy these moments. But kind of tell us a little bit about your run, with COVID, and what kind of transpired over these last 2 years for you to have had such an amazing run this year.
Well, over COVID, we were really young at the start of COVID. We were starting 3 sophomores and 2 freshmen. And really we're having about a 500 season. We decided, we had a kid transfer out that was a big integral part of our program right before the season started and COVID began. And so at that moment we had a decision to make, how do we recreate this team? And so we did. We went with a younger cast that we felt like if we put all of our chips in them, that it would produce down the road. And Quenisha Lockett and Sophia Wired were a big part of that. Sammy McConowitz was a big part of that. Kier Goss was a part of that. This group has evolved into a very mature, experienced group now. But toward the end of that first year, we were able to knock off the number 1 in our league. And unfortunately, COVID cut us short of what we thought we could do. But I'm just so proud of the maturity that they have experienced. And I think, too, because they've been on the other side of this, they are very protective of our culture and of what it takes to be successful in our locker room, and have reinforced to the rest of our kids just how important details are. So absolutely love these players. So glad that, now they have even an extra year. So all my 5 starters will be back next year. But it has been an absolute joy to coach this group.
So I've never won 17 straight. So how does that feel? I mean, come on, that's like unbelievable. I think maybe Don Staley right now, but other than that, no one has had that type of streak. So kind of share kind of that feeling and what it takes. You mentioned a little bit, but what it takes from your staff and from your players.
Well, I think number one, maturity, because we preach a lot not to be too high over a win, too low over a loss. Every film session that we have after a game is highlights and lowlights, and the players know it's coming. Because I always feel like in a win, sometimes you don't play great, but you won, and sometimes you can play a Duke like we did this year, and for 3 quarters we played pretty well. We just couldn't match them personnel wise, and so I think it's having that maturity to understand that it's a process and that we've never arrived, and the world's never falling either. And this group is very, very mature. But also, I think a really cool thing that's happening on our campus is that last year our men's and women's programs combined for second most wins in the country. And
Mm.
so our basketball suite is a lot of fun to be in the last 2 years, because our men's staff keeps winning. And it's kind of like that competitive thing, like, well, gosh, they won, let's win. And yet so congratulatory and so supportive of each other that it's a really healthy atmosphere. Um, I absolutely adore their staff as well. And our two staffs and our two teams are very, very supportive of each other. We try to go to each other's games. If I'm watching film of a scout, I've got their game on in the background because I want to know how they're doing. And it's been a very healthy, fun environment to be in.
Well, you're very fortunate because having that healthy environment and you're selling basketball and
Hmm.
and your fan support. When I was at Purdue, we came to Toledo. That fan support is no joke,
It's
and
fun.
that goes but your community product, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and what you've built is amazing. So I know you had mentioned this. In one of your pressers with the NCAA, talk about your conference and how tough it is.
Our league is extremely tough. Um, the Bowling Greens and the Ball States of the world are very, very good. I do think that, and even Kent State. Kent State went out to Oklahoma State and they won. They had a fantastic run, and they almost knocked off Florida State at home. I think the tough thing for our league is that it's difficult to get people to play us, and that's why, Sharon, back when you were at Purdue, I was so grateful. I remember your players saying, "Why is Coach Cullop thanking us?" It's because it's so hard to get people to be willing to come here because we're top 30 in the country in attendance. Now 10 out of the last 11 years. We just finished 25th in the country in attendance, but because of our winning percentage at home, a lot of times, we've got to go to tournaments on neutral courts, all of our league, to play people of significance to try to get a quality win. One of those quad wins,
Mhm.
and also, I think night in and night out, the tough thing about being in our niche as a mid-major, we're hovering around 10 or 11 if you look at, RPI. I'm a big believer in RPI, even though we're going by the net, and I'll tell you why later. But I do feel that this league is kind of that little niche that the NCAA tournament forgets about, because we're not BCS, and yet there's a lot of automatic qualifiers that may not be as high of RPI or net conference as we are. And so you almost darn near have to be perfect to win the conference tournament to get in. There have been a couple times that Buffalo and Central in years past were able to both sneak in,
Mhm.
but it requires an incredible non-conference schedule, and you got to have some great wins, and then you almost have to be a perfect run in the league, which in my opinion is very difficult because Robin at Beachy, Brady at Ball State, and
Mhm.
Todd at Kent State are phenomenal coaches.
Well, I've always had so much respect, and that's what's difficult. And you're doing your part. And I like the RPI as well. Uh, Not the net as much. I've studied both.
Yeah,
But when your RPI is that high as a conference, and you're getting it done, and your winning percentage, and
yeah.
you should be able to get two. You know,
Well, the thing about the thing I don't like about the net is we're rewarding teams for playing bad teams and beating them by a lot.
right.
And the RPI rewards you for quality wins. We beat Michigan at Michigan barely, and
Yep.
yet we barely moved up in
Yeah.
the net. I want
Yeah.
to be a coach who has integrity, that has sportsmanship. That if I win by 10, that's a victory.
Hmm.
I don't want to have to win by 30 in order to impress a committee with my net score. I think it goes against everything I believe in coaching. And
Yeah.
so, I've already started on committee members about this. They're not very happy with me, but I'm going to let them know how I feel.
Well, but it makes sense, and I agree. So let's talk about your NCAA, your matchup against Iowa State. They were a 5 seed. You were obviously a 12. What did you like about that matchup? And obviously, you were very successful.
Well, obviously, number one, it was a tough matchup because we're friends with that whole staff. Latoya Shaban is a MAC Player of the Year at Toledo, and Bill Finley is a former Toledo coach who I adore. Jody, his assistant, Jody Steyer, is an amazing assistant. It was many years at Toledo. So, first of all, I think you probably would agree with me. I hate playing my friends.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you love them, but you need to beat them. And so I think matchup wise, the NCAA tournament, getting wins in the tournament is all about matchup. Same with your conference tournament. And when I saw that draw, number one, my heart kind of sank because I had just texted them to say congratulations on winning their league. And then my next text followed up was, well, I guess I'll see you soon. But I thought we matched up better with them than other teams maybe that we could draw. But I will say Ashley Jones is the real deal. What an amazing player. She scored over 3,000 points in her career and was a very difficult matchup for us. She was able to get to the free throw line, especially in the second half. I didn't think we could stop the bleeding there, but I thought we were able to get out and guard the 3-point line pretty well and not give them easy looks. But they're not easy to guard. Their guard play is very skilled. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And I just thought we got out to a really good start. Our kids believed, and sometimes belief can get you over the hump. And once we got out to a lead, we were able to maintain that. I think going back to our maturity, our kids understood that we had to do all the little things, and we took really good shots in that game, and we were able to put them down.
What did you think a couple key players for you? I know it takes a whole team effort, but who really just stood out, you felt? I mean, obviously commentators think X, Y, and Z, but who did you think?
I thought number one, we always talk to our point guard Sophia Wired about being a scoring threat. I give her a hard time about it because sometimes I think she takes breaks on the court, not because she doesn't want to be involved, because she's so unselfish. And when she came out of the gate and I think had 8 to 10 points in the first quarter, I knew we were going to be in business because we're a better team when she's scoring. Secondly, the one that everyone noticed, who I adore, is Quenisha Lockett.
Yeah.
Her speed's hard to guard, and we run a lot of different actions to try to get her some easy drives to the basket. But in transition, I thought she did a wonderful job of going to the board. She had 13 boards in the game, and when she can lead the break after getting a board, she's really hard to catch, or we can pitch ahead to her. I thought she was able to use her speed and athleticism to create easy baskets for us. And then, third, Jada Jansen. Jada is a Division II kid who transferred here for 2 years and just was phenomenal. I mean, she was really hitting, but I thought very aggressive, driving to the basket and creating for us. And if I had to give you a fourth, I'd say Jess Cook. Jess Cook had about 3 different tie-ups for rebounds against some bigger kids late in that game that were big time for us to get the ball back.
Well, when I was watching, you controlled the tempo. You did what you wanted to do, and you did totally took them out of the 3-point game, which, that's what they want to do. But Jones, I've never seen her play in person, but boy,
it's not fun when you're the opposing coach.
No.
I told her after the game, don't be sad. You're going to make a lot of money playing professionally because she's so good.
Yeah.
But much respect for that program and for her.
Absolutely. So you match up with Tennessee. So so that obviously
once again, I looked at
different.
that matchup and said, "Crap."
Yeah.
That when our kids looked at that, the height differential, first of all, that was a little intimidating. But then when you see them on the court and the tip, I think they're just so disruptive. We knew that paint points, rebounding, and taking care of the ball were going to be our big 3 keys. We had a tough time with all 3, to be honest. They're very, they're deep with height. They're so quick. They've got 2 first-round draft picks, probably in the WNBA upcoming. And I think even Hollingshed inside is just very skilled. I think what's tough is if they miss a shot, you think, okay, we can get this rebound, and then they can tip it to each other.
Yeah.
It's like the tip drill, and our kids are trying to get it, and they're not in that wingspan or that height zone. But they can create a lot of different ways. It's interesting because we watched a lot of their roster grow up because they grew up around us in Ohio and Michigan.
Yeah.
So we were very familiar, and we knew it was going to be difficult. and much respect to Kelly. She's done a phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
job. You know, the way that she's got her team playing right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got a shot to do whatever they want to do. But I do believe that when they shoot the three as well as they did against us, that's what was the difference. We thought maybe we could pack it in and do some doubles, but when they're shooting the three like that, it really was difficult for us.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like where they're playing, they had some bumps in the road early and,
Hmm.
trying to figure things out and adversity. But boy, they're clicking on all cylinders. And I think that's the key for them. If they can shoot the three well, then they could go obviously a lot further. So let's talk about the brackets. You obviously were in that bracket with Tennessee.
Hmm.
So when you go to the Seattle 3 region, um, with the matchups right now, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be a great game. Obviously Virginia Tech matches up a lot better height wise than we did at a lot of positions. I think Kenny's got his team playing very, very well. They earned their number one seed,
Hmm.
but I don't think they're going to be as caught up with the length and the athleticism. They see it in their league.
Yeah.
I think it was hard for us to prepare for in one night, but I think this is going to be a great game. I think Tennessee came out of this with a shot in the arm of confidence, but I
Hmm.
do think Kenny's team's playing very maturely right now, and I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the transfer portal a little bit, and some kids transferred, and Kenny's done a phenomenal job.
Hmm.
I talked about Brenda Freeze with Maryland. They're doing
Yeah,
so well, and they had so many transfers, and people like playing for Kenny,
he's
and
just
what
got a
they've
great
done this year.
demeanor.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, he's so even keel. You know, you watch those pregame talks, and you're like, he's so soft spoken. You
yeah.
know, but that's just who he is. And I think that breeds confidence with your kids. You know, they know that he trusts them and that he cares about them. And I think kids are running through the wall for him.
Yeah. No, they're fun to watch, and Kitley, she's the real deal. I mean, all the players, but
Hmm.
I tell you what, she's difficult to defend, and she does a great job on the defensive end, and so that will be obviously a great matchup. And then you have Ohio State, UConn. Being in the Big Ten, Ohio State, they got J.C. Sheldon back. I just love how they play.
I think J.C. Sheldon is phenomenal, but again, they rely a lot on their press for a lot of turnovers, and a lot of points, and I think it's with Az Fudd back. I think it's going to
Mm,
be a difficult matchup as
yep.
far as turning them over. I think they do a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball, but Ohio State's freshman has had a phenomenal year. She is an athletic specimen. Boy, can she drive and create and cause opportunities to get to the free throw line. Her brother was a practice player for us, and so we know that family pretty well. But man, are they? I think Ricky is playing with a lot more confidence
Hmm.
this year. I think that team. I think that team's probably peaking at the right time, and I know they're happy to have J.C. Sheldon back.
Yeah, I mean, she had the game winner the other night. She kind of just split, and she's like,
Yeah,
it kind of blew up, but they did the right thing, and she made a great shot. So, but I tell you what, UConn, Gino's gone through a lot this year with obviously the loss of
yeah,
his mother. We all know that. We understand how that
yep,
goes, and but the
we
biggest
do.
thing is, you know, he had so many injuries, and they had to
Hmm.
adapt, and I mean they've lost 2 games in a row, the Big East, and it's different for him. So but I watched Az Fudd, and she's been shooting like 1 for 10, 1 for 10. Well, she arrived last night for sure.
I'm sure it took her a few games to get back in the swing of things, and obviously Edwards is phenomenal.
Hmm.
I think that their experience in postseason play
Yeah.
is probably going to be a big time factor in this, and the confidence that they have, and Gino's experience of being there as well. There's an expectation for them. This is not even the level that they expect to aspire to. It's Final Four, it's national championship.
Right.
So very few teams probably have the confidence heading into postseason that their program has, and deservedly so.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the Greenville 2 region. And this was a tough one, as we all know. Terry Morin's one of our former Boilermakers. They had an amazing, amazing season. Obviously, we talked Mackenzie Holmes was hurt, and maybe if she was a little really, really healthy. But boy, that's a big upset with Miami, how physical they were to beat Indiana.
I think one of the tough things is that when you get into NCAA tournament play, and we learned this as well, is that the whistles don't come as quick, and it's a very physical game. I know you know that as well. But Mackenzie Holmes, my heart breaks for her because I know
Hmm.
that she went into this tournament a little banged up, and boy, as a post player, former post player, I loved watching her play all season long. Her footwork, her hands, her finishing, her touch, the way she runs the floor, and the ability to step out and shoot from the perimeter, she's phenomenal. And her passing, I think she's got great court vision when she's doubled.
Hmm.
So I saw her. We got back to the hotel after our game in time to watch their third and fourth quarter, and I hated it for them because I know even the loss of not having Grace Berger in their program anymore. What a great kid. Grace
Oh.
is someone that they've relied on a lot and just seems like an unbelievable kid
Hmm.
who has worked her tail off and is a wonderful leader for them. But credit goes to Miami for how
Hmm.
aggressively they played. Katie had her team ready to play in a hostile environment. And,
Hmm.
uh, hats off to Terry for getting the fan base there to
Oh.
come and to show up. When you and I were players at Purdue, they didn't have that fan base.
No.
And,
No.
I know that the alums from the first championship had to just be so excited this year
Yeah.
when they won their regular season championship. Um, and that fan to be excited about for the future because even though they lose Grace, they've got a lot of great young players.
Oh. No, they were so fun to watch the entire year, and you know, Miami just did a great job on them defensively from the three.
Hmm.
I mean, Katie, she's more of a defensive coach, Katie, and she talks about
Hmm.
that. They had some great offense with players stepping up, but their post play, Pendandy, she was so physical and caused some
Yeah.
problems, early on. And you play in that conference, but it was very similar to the Ole Miss Stanford. Even though we're not going to talk about that, it was
Yeah.
they got ahead, and they just couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't tie it. They couldn't go ahead, and that just builds confidence for the other team.
Well, and I think what's lost in a lot of people is the energy it takes when you're coming from a 10-point
Yeah.
deficit or more to get back into a game.
Hmm.
You're exhausting a lot of mental and physical energy in climbing back into it. That sometimes when you get right to the brink of it, it's hard to finish the deal. But again, it was a great game. I think it was great for women's basketball.
Hmm.
I think every fan, no matter who they were cheering for, was on the edge of their seat
Yeah.
in that game, screaming and yelling at their TV because I do think we've got some great teams left in this tournament, and
Mm.
that was a great game for our game.
Well, then we go to the Villanova Miami. We've talked about IU, but Villanova, just they're just such a physical team. They're so solid.
Hmm.
Maddie Segrest, one of the best scorers, obviously
In the
beat,
country.
yeah, Florida Gulf Coast. But Gino, when they played in the tournament, their conference tournament, he's like, they might be the most physical, tough team that he's played against. So, I think that Villanova Miami game, as you said, there's going to be a ton of teams that are really going to have some great games, a little different style of play. But I'm anxious to watch her go against, obviously, the big post for Miami.
I would agree, and let's go back and just quickly say, I bet everyone when they draw Florida Gulf Coast says, "Oh my
No.
goodness, please don't be us," because of what a great job he's done, and for Villanova to handle them
Hmm.
is a feat because when you play somebody that has a totally different style, and I know Villanova does as well,
Hmm.
it presents a tough matchup in a short amount of time to prepare because all of us have about what a 2-3 day window
Yeah.
to really get prepared. And so it's not like you have weeks upon weeks. You've got a short window once that announcement's made. And, I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch because obviously, as you said, two different styles, right?
Hmm.
One that's defensive minded, one that can put a lot of points on the board. I think one of the keys is going to be how many times they're able to get to the free throw line because they are great shooters. And are they able to finish there? And can they stop Segrist? She's
Hmm.
phenomenal.
Yeah, she's fun to watch. And then we got the next bracket: LSU, Utah, Angel Reese, and you got another big player in Utah. She's phenomenal as well. I watched Utah the other night, so that's going to be a again different style matchup.
Well, how fun is it to see different teams?
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that a Utah has emerged. I think we all cheer for that parity in our tournament and in our game. And it's awesome to see a Virginia Tech, to see a Utah now rise because we want parity and we want interesting matchups. Obviously, Utah is a team that's probably disappointed because there for a while they were number one seed
Hmm.
and slipped late with a loss in their tournament. But fun style of basketball against a team that's going to be very aggressive in
Hmm.
LSU. And Angel Reese presents all kinds of problems.
Hmm.
We had a chance to watch a lot of her film as they were playing Tennessee to get ready for our matchup. And so I really, truly appreciated just what a great player she was as I was studying it even closer. But boy, the way that she can score, the way that she can defend, and the way that she inspires her
Yeah.
teammates, and who can't get inspired by Kim
Kim
Mulkey?
Mulkey.
Uh, she is a fireball on the sideline. But I do think I'm excited to watch this matchup because of how different of a style Utah is, and I think it's fun to see what's going to win out.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the best thing that has occurred in women's basketball is the attendance. Iowa selling out,
Hmm.
IU having huge crowds, LSU doing the same thing. I mean, it's just so important for our game to continue to grow. And obviously, with you having your attendance at your house, it's great. But to have that atmosphere for all college women's basketball has been phenomenal.
I know a lot of people talk about how they don't like the home sites in the first round, but I'll be
Mhm.
honest, I think I would much rather that than we go to neutral sites, there's no one there,
Yeah.
and we ship people across country. I think it's difficult, but if you're a top 16 seed, you earned it.
Hmm.
And I think hopefully we'll get to a spot where we can move to neutrals. But I think for every player that participated in the NCAA tournament first couple of rounds, to have fans there that cared, that
Hmm.
love women's basketball, only adds to the game.
Well, Tricia, congratulations on a phenomenal, phenomenal season. You got to take a break, go to the beach, lay on the beach, and just really understand what you have created there and what you've accomplished. And really wish you the best of luck, obviously in the off season and recruiting. But really appreciate it. And excited for our next guest as we go in. We're going to have Lindsay Wisdom-Hylton, assistant coach at the University of Texas in the Big 12.
University of South Carolina Beaufort has 3 beautiful locations near the beach: Bluffton, Beaufort, and Hilton Head Island. Our students find our small classes and personalized instruction very rewarding. The USCB Sand Sharks have added men's and women's basketball, and we are excited to be new provisional members of NCAA Division II and the Peach Belt Conference. Fins up from USCB.
Stant with another kill.
He shoots and he scores!
Oh, big hit.
Welcome back to March Madness. Excited for our second guest, Lindsay Wisdom-Hylton. She's at the University of Texas. She was a former Boilermaker, played for me for a couple years, is absolutely All-American, WNBA player, first round draft pick. This is her first year at Texas, spent 7 years coaching with me at Purdue. She's one of the best human beings out there, one of the best coaches. And now she's at Texas with Vic Schaefer. They were number 4 seed at home, 26-10. They beat number 13 East Carolina 79-40. Lost to Louisville last night 73-51. They were 14-4 in the Big 12. First Big 12 regular season championship since 2003-04. And they were 21-0 when holding opponents to 59 points or less. And so welcome to the podcast, Lindsay.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I know you've you've done such a great job as a player and as a coach and as a professional. But as we go through this podcast, I'm just going to ask you questions. But first and foremost, as a player, you played at Purdue, played for two coaches. We won some Big Ten championships. We went to a couple Elite Eights. How do players feel right now? Obviously last night you all kind of got beat. So that's one feeling. Yeah. But, just kind of the process of winning a championship and getting to the Elite Eight and, just you as a player first.
Yeah. Well, they don't call it March Madness for nothing. It's such a high and excitement, such a thrill, to be in such a setting. And it's an honor, not everyone's names get called on selection Sunday or Monday. And so to have that honor and be able to play and represent your university is great. And so like Coach had mentioned is that at Purdue, I was lucky enough to be a part of two Elite Eights, so close to being to the Final Four. And so since I didn't do it as a player, now my goal is to do it as a coach. And so like she had mentioned, I just got to University of Texas. We did just lose last night, but so you have the high of the wins, but then you also have the heartbreaks of the losses. And so dealing with that right now, and it's emotional. You have seniors leaving. You're going to have a whole new team next year, but it's an exciting time, and it's just it's do or die. You survive in advance, and so we have a very interesting year this year. Our brackets have been busted on the men's and women's side, so it's exciting to see the parity in our league and our game, and it's an exciting time to watch. And so now I'm going to be sitting from the sidelines cheering on some friends in the coaching world and having an exciting time in Dallas at the Final Four.
Well, and like when you leave it all on the line, when you got to two Elite Eights, we played top teams, and then you got a first round draft pick in the WNBA. And so for some, they're going to continue to make money and have a great experience. And how was that for you progressing into the WNBA and your experience there for those that don't understand it?
It's a whirlwind, and to have that opportunity to be drafted in the first round. I'm very, very lucky and very blessed to have that opportunity. And Coach, you really did an amazing job helping me get to that level. But way back then it was a little different. We didn't have the NIL, we didn't have the deals and stuff. First round picks aren't making, especially what the NBA guys are making. But even now, the game has grown so much. And the money is definitely out there, and it's a greater demand. And I'm excited that we kind of helped lay the foundation a little bit along the years, and to have that opportunity to play professionally for 4 years in different cities, and then overseas, having that opportunity is a lot of great talent overseas as well. And then just to kind of get into coaching, it's just been an amazing career for me, both on the court and on the sidelines. And I just hopefully can give any advice to any young women wanting to get in the game to live their dream, because you never know what could happen. I never imagined that I would be drafted and have that opportunity until it was later in my life. So just stay the course, and you can dream big, you can do it.
Well, and that's great advice. And you're such a mentor for so many, and you've touched a lot of programs. So, they're very blessed to have you as well. So let's talk about University of Texas and kind of your season and winning the regular season championship, and then just about the conference.
Yeah, it's been great. I've only been here since September, so it's been thrown in the fire a little bit right when the season got going. But it's been amazing just getting settled and situated here, getting to know our players. We have a lot of talent on our team. We did get a little adversity with some injuries here and there, with some players being in and out. One of our starters tearing their ACL. So we've had some adversity that our girls, we just did an amazing job fighting through that, and to come out and be regular, co-champions of the Big 12 is amazing. And it gets a lot to our coach, Vic Schaefer. He's an amazing coach, based on and off the court. He's a really good guy, always looking out for his players, and he'll get on him on the court. I'm sure you all have seen him on the sideline, but right after practice, he'll be there putting his arm around the girls and being there for them. So I've learned a lot so far in the short time that I've been here, and I'm excited to see where we can take this program in years to come.
So with the Big 12, you've been part of the Big 10, you've been part of the ACC, and now the Big 12. So what's kind of is there a different style, different bodies, or is it kind of very similar?
Yeah. There are differences. I think I was in the Big 10 playing and coaching for so long, kind of got used to that style. You kind of have some great guard play, obviously, and get up and down in transition, but very good in the half court as well. Some bigger post players usually to kind of get down there and bang. I think the Big 12 is very, very similar in that aspect. In ACC and SEC, it's a little bit more transition up and down, a little bit more quicker and agile post players, maybe not as much size. So as you guys know, we'll be in the Big 12 for one more year, then we'll shift over to the SEC, and that's a gauntlet of a schedule as well. So no conference is safe. And even like I said, the parity in the game, you've got Big East and all other kinds of conferences that are just so good, and you never know, any given night anyone can win a game.
Absolutely. So you guys earned the right. You were top 4 seed, got to play at home, matched up with East Carolina. So tell us a little bit about how that went against East Carolina before you obviously played Louisville.
Well, I think the opportunity for us to host started because we did so well in the Big 12, but then also we're able to make a good run in the Big 12 tournament, and fell short to a really, really good Iowa State team in the finals. But I think we did a good job all season, setting ourselves up to be in a position to host. And we play at the Moody Center, which is a very brand new $1 million facility, top notch. We have great fans. We're building our fan base here in Austin. And so we were really lucky to have that opportunity. And we thought we were really setting ourselves up to at least get advanced into the Sweet 16. But I think we came up against a tough Louisville team who was very physical. We played them earlier in the year. We were very different. We didn't have one of our point guards at the time, but both teams got better, and they came out and kind of punched us first, and we kind of battled back here and there. But unfortunately, we just didn't have enough juice in the tank, and they played really well and kept running on us. And our fans tried to cheer us on and get us out of it, but they really kind of handed it to us. And so we got to make sure we're a little bit more physical, more tough, and could sustain that with a little bit of the depth that we had. And then East Carolina, they're a tough matchup for us. They're scrappy. They're a really good team. They have players who can score and get up and down the court. They force a lot of turnovers, 24 a game. And so one of the best in the country, because they play as real scrappy to try to speed up the offense. And so we wanted to make sure we take care of the ball, because that's kind of been a little bit of our Achilles heel this year, taking care of the ball. So, but we were able to do a good job with them and advance on to Louisville. But, like I said, they had a really good game plan, and we just got to make sure we come out a little tougher and stronger, and so we can get the win and get out of, the host region. But, next year we're really excited. We have a lot of our core group back. We only have a couple seniors that are moving on. So hopefully we have our incoming freshmen will help us, and we have a good group coming back. So we hopefully can make a run next year.
Well, talk about a couple of players, on your team that matched up with Louisville, and kind of what was your game plan against Louisville? What were your key players? And then kind of what was their game plan? Obviously it was successful, but kind of the matchup of strategy a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we know they have really good players and good guard play. And I think number 5 is kind of the catalyst to their team. Obviously everyone talks about Van Lith, but number 5, Mikasa Robinson, really gets them going. She's kind of that energy player for them. So we felt like if we could neutralize a couple players, obviously they have great size, but we feel like we also have great size. So we felt like they would kind of neutralize each other in that aspect, rebounding and things like that, and banging down low. But it was going to be really, really important for our guard play to step up and, match their guard play. And so we also wanted to make sure we take care of the ball, because they press, they're going to get after you and be aggressive. And we knew that they could play some zone. We struggled in the past against teams that sat in and packed it in and made it hard for our bigs to get the ball. If your guards, sometimes if they're not knocking down shots, then it makes it a little bit easier for the defense to sit in. And so for us, we wanted to make sure our guards were still being aggressive, getting to the free throw line, and knocking down shots. And then obviously I'm biased, so feeding the big kids, big girls, to get them the ball as much as possible. And we had some really, really good looks at the rim, missed a lot of layups that we should have made. But our game plan, again, was to be aggressive, deny, not let them run their coach, like says, don't let them run their pretty offense. And so we didn't do that as well as we should have, and we weren't denying and getting as aggressive as we needed to be. The refs did a pretty decent job on both ends, with calling the game. So it just fell down to being tough and not letting the teams run what they wanted to run.
Yeah. Did you feel like Louisville, just out of the gate, the tempo they controlled, was kind of like... Yeah,
they did. And I think it started off with us having 3 turnovers to start the game. It's obviously not a good sign. And so we, like I said, turning the ball over was one of our keys to make sure we don't do that. And so to start the game off, it just kind of had to get our gears going a little bit. And they kind of punched first. Like I said, we tied it at the end of the first, but we didn't have great second and third quarters to kind of neutralize that. And so they built a lead. We gave them confidence. That's the biggest thing, I think, when you give an opponent confidence like that early on in your arena, that just kind of fuels them. to keep going. And so our crowd did a good job trying to keep us in it, and we made some runs here and there, but in the end, we just didn't have enough to kind of cut it toward the end.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I know you were in, the Seattle region 4.
Yeah.
And when you kind of look at things, when you're, Tricia and I talked about this a little bit. When you're in the tournament, you're not watching any other game. You're just scouting, doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So on Sunday night, I'm watching. It's midnight, and woo, Ole Miss from the gate. Same thing. Set the tempo. Just took Stanford out of it on their home court. But their defense, their length, their athleticism, and in the fourth quarter, Ole Miss only had like a field goal, but they got to the foul line. But Stanford couldn't get over the hump. I don't know if you watched any of that, had an opportunity Sunday night, but your thoughts on that?
I was only able to watch the end, the last few minutes. We were kind of out with our team, kind of prepping them and getting them ready for team dinner and things like that. So watched the last 3 or 4 minutes, and it was, like you said, all defense. That's kind of Ole Miss's, that's their staple, to disrupt, be long and athletic and active, and they really disrupted Stanford. And when Stanford started to creep in and make that run toward the end, it was going to be down to who could get some more stops. And like you said, Ole Miss kind of hit a little lull scoring, but it didn't matter. They were making stops, and that was what was key and important for them. And they gave it to them on their home court, like you said. And there's, like I said, a lot of parity in this game. So it's exciting to see the upsets, not only with them, but as with IU, kind of the same situation. Oof. So any given night, you never know. Our game and our league is very tough. You have to come ready to play no matter what, or you're just going to go home packing.
Yeah, like Stanford, like Haley Jones. Cameron Brink was sick. They didn't play in the first round. She came the second round. You could tell that she wasn't her best. But when she came out of the game, it was drastic. They'd make a run, then she'd come back in, and then they kind of closed the gap. But Haley Jones missed some layups that she normally doesn't, but they have length and athleticism. But what I really saw was that they just guarded those guards like no other, and they didn't have an opportunity to pass well, deflections, or shoot the three, because Stanford usually shoots the three, and they totally took that away.
Yeah, when you have that size, that length, and you play so hard on defense, it's hard, and like Coach says, you can win games with bigs, but you win championships with guards. And if your guards can't get the ball to the bigs, then it's going to be a long night. But they really disrupted them, caused a lot of pressure, and you can't run that pretty offense. It's hard for you to get the looks you want to get. Maybe you're taking rush shots, turning it over and such. And so I feel Haley, we missed a lot of bunnies too. And so, and that just kind of messes with your psyche and your confidence going down the stretch. But I know Stanford had some crucial turnovers again toward the end. They weren't allowed to get a good shot off for them to even, get a shot off. And so, but like I said, I saw their crowd was rocking for them too. So it's hard, when you're home, you have the pressure, especially those number 1 seeds. A lot of pressure build up, and give a shout out to our Boilermakers men. They had the pressure all on them as well, and it's tough, when it gets in those crunch time situations, and you have a lot riding on it, and so you're never safe. You never know.
No, you don't. And with Ole Miss, they were breaking them down and going to the hole and just foul. So that it's crazy when you have different officials. They call it a different game all the time. So Stanford and Ole Miss, the scoring was low, but the IU Miami game had some similarities. The crowd was there. They just couldn't ever get over. They could never take the lead. They're always coming from behind, and coming from behind 10, 12 points. It takes a lot out of you. So, so what do you think now that you play Louisville? What do you think about Ole Miss Louisville matchup?
It's going to be tough. I haven't seen Ole Miss a ton this season, just kind of here and there. Obviously watched the end of the Stanford game, and we've now played Louisville twice, so I've seen them a little bit more. I think offensively Louisville has a lot of weapons. So, Ole Miss is going to have to defend not only the guards, but their bigs as well. But I have a length and athleticism. So I'm excited. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to kind of be in that mid range because I think Louisville also plays great defense. So it's going to be a good defensive battle. But I don't know who's going to take that one. But I know it's going to be a good game. And it's a great region. All the games are going to be good from here on out because you're playing top tier talent.
Absolutely. Well, I think the other game that will be interesting, obviously, is the Iowa-Colorado game. I finally got to watch Colorado play, but Iowa, Caitlin Clark,
Oh yeah,
Monica
she's
Sassano
amazing.
down and low. I mean, everybody says it's like Caitlin's kind of the Steph Curry of, college women's basketball. And we played against her all the time. And
Yeah.
it's not fun. Don't like it.
I'm
But
glad
man,
I'm out of that area.
but she can ball. I mean, she's pretty amazing. But not sure if you watched Colorado, but they, they went in and beat Duke on their home floor. I watched it last night and didn't know if you've watched them and what your thoughts are about that matchup.
No, we weren't able to watch the end of it after our game a little bit while we were eating post game. And it was just a battle kind of going back and forth with them and Duke. And, Duke's a great team. I know sometimes in the year they've had a little bit ups and downs. So I don't know if maybe Colorado caught them on a night, but I saw they had good guard play. They have good size down low for rebounding and working with bigs. And so Colorado's been playing really well. The Pac-12 has been really great this season. So a lot of good head-to-head matchups for them to put them in situations to be successful. So I'm not surprised. And so that's going to be a good one. And then, Colorado and Iowa is kind of two teams maybe they didn't expect to play each other, different styles and things. And obviously Caitlin is an amazing player. She does a great job leading that team, but they have a lot of good pieces to that Iowa team and down low in the post and then other good guard play who can knock down the three. And so it's going to be a tough matchup, I know, for Colorado's sake. But on the other end, Iowa's got to make sure they play good defense. And it's going to be a neutral site, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's great that they're doing the regions, the two regions. I think that will be helpful. But when I was watching Colorado, Quay Miller, post player, very impressive. Down low, great hands, can score, can pass, can board. But their low point guard, their senior, Jared, she was not letting them lose. I mean, it just wasn't happening. And, so that was an incredible matchup. But, hats off. Lisa Bluter's done an incredible job there. Yes, but like Tricia and I said, it's nice to see the parity and have new teams in there. Because it can happen anytime. It's very refreshing.
Yeah, it Absolutely. Is. And so I don't know who's going to be at the final. I mean, we could have a couple of weeks ago, we kind of had people we figured would have made it, but now it's kind of a crapshoot. I do think, South Carolina is still the favorites to win it all, but you never know. You can catch them on a night, have good game plan and knock down some shots and play good defense. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. But if I had put my money on, I'm kind of leaning toward them to win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to the Greenville 1 region right now. We talked about South Carolina. They are the team to beat. They've been undefeated going on 2 years now. On both sides of the ball, they are so relentless. They have the three. They have the mid-range game. They obviously, Aaliyah Boston is one of the best players that's ever played as well. And, when we talk about South Carolina, Ole Miss played them at Ole Miss, went into overtime.
Yeah, they did.
Similar style, but not, Boston. I think their post player, obviously, with South Carolina, obviously, is the most dominating presence. But they're the only ones besides UConn playing them close right now. So, Dawn has done a great job. But UCLA, we're talking about the Pac-12 again.
Yeah.
UCLA, Charisma Osborne. Scored so many points, just continues to carry their team. So what are your thoughts with UCLA?
We had to see them up and close and personal. We were in the same tournament during Thanksgiving, and when I saw them play then, they were playing really well, and it was early in the season. So I just knew that they would be successful at the end of the year just because of the pieces that they had with their team. But I'm excited to kind of see what they can bring to the table against South Carolina, and they have some good veteran guards, some good size down there. And Corey's done an amazing job with that group, getting them ready to put them in this position.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then we have the Notre Dame Maryland matchup, which Notre Dame, Neil Ivey, Big Ten. I mean, I keep saying Big Ten. Sorry. ACC Coach of the Year. I mean, and they lost 2 starters.
I know.
No one would think that they'd be in the Sweet 16 right now.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you lose kind of your floor general person to kind of run everything. We lost ours early in the year for a few
Yep.
games, and it's tough to make that adjustment. And so hats off to her and her team and her coaches. They've done an amazing job, keeping their team together and understanding the mission and still coming out and winning games. And so I think they do have a tough matchup ahead with Maryland. But Maryland's have dropped a couple games earlier in the Big Ten conference. And so if Notre Dame can capitalize on that and stop Diamond Miller and some other key pieces, they have a shot at winning this game, even without their two starters. So it'll be a good matchup. I think it's going to go back and forth. I don't think one team's going to run away with it. I think it's going to come down to the wire to who can execute the best toward the end and take care of the ball.
Yeah, I had Brenda on last week, and I complimented her. She has 9 from the transfer portal, had 2 returners, 9 from the portal, 2 post players got hurt. So she has 7, and so she had to change the style of play. So that's why they had bumps in the road, and Diamond Miller was out early on when they played South Carolina. So now Diamond Miller's playing great. They're playing a 5-out style. So, it's a hard matchup because they play 5-out now, and they still rebound well. But Cheyenne Zellers, Abby Myers, I told her, Abby's I love Abby Myers. Diamond Miller is top 3 draft pick. Get it. But I think I really feel that they're the team now that they've continued to play. Yeah. They have a chance. If they have a chance at South Carolina, obviously they're going to produce better than a 25-point loss because they didn't have Diamond Miller and it was early.
Correct. Yeah, I think so too. I think you hit it on. They're playing really well. Their best basketball right now. They're trending upward. And so, like I said, I think it's going to be a great game. But I think I have to give my Big Ten a little shout out on that one. I think that she's going to come away with that one. Both great coaches. Brenda's been in this situation too many times, and I feel like she's going to have her team ready to go. And they have many pieces that can score the ball at the end of the day. And so I think they're going to come out on top on that one. But I've been wrong before in my guesses, but I do think that Maryland can come out with that one and advance to the next round.
Well, Lindsay, I know you wish you were still playing, but you will now be able to watch some games. But, I just want to thank you for being who you are, playing at Purdue, being All-American, WNBA, coaching there. And you're just making such great headway in this profession and helping young people out. And, you're going to continue to do big things. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you and everything that you've done for me, not only in my basketball career, but personally off the court. You've been a mentor and a great coach to me and a friend. And so I appreciate you asking me and getting me on here to talk some basketball because it's what we love to do.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being here, and we'll see how this March Madness Sweet 16 goes this weekend. We have one more short segment, and we'll be back in a little bit.
University of South Carolina Beaufort has 3 beautiful locations near the beach: Bluffton, Beaufort, and Hilton Head Island. Our students find our small classes and personalized instruction very rewarding. USCB students have unique opportunities with internships, community service projects, international programs, fieldwork, and research. The USCB Sand Sharks have added men's and women's basketball, and we are excited to be new provisional members of NCAA Division II and the Peach Belt Conference. Fins up from USCB.
With another kill.
He shoots and he scores!
Oh, big hit.
All right, so we're back. The Sweet 16 is all set. There's a lot of new teams that we're excited to watch. A lot of upsets on the home court, but now it's all neutral court. So we're going to see. Obviously, Ole Miss and Stanford, that was a big upset, as well as Miami at IU. But who's going to be the dark horse now? I think Virginia Tech and Keatley, the post player, really are playing great basketball right now. That's a player to watch. Caitlin Clark from Iowa. They just know how to put up points. People say she's a Steph Curry of women's basketball. Villanova, the top scorer in the country. Seacrest, Maddie Seacrest, another one to really watch. And obviously South Carolina, Leah Boston. She has just done such amazing things there the last several years. And just that whole team. I mean, Dawn Staley has just created a dynasty there. And so we'll see if anybody can make those upsets. And so just really looking forward to these games. Next week, I'll have another 2 special guests. And now we're down to the nitty gritty with the final 4. And then that will be my episode 3. And then my episode 4 will be all about University of South Carolina, Beaufort, state of women's basketball, and just bringing the Low Country to all of you. So until then, we'll see you next time.